There are really no general conclusions that can be drawn. There's about 11 million in the naked city, New York. All different stories. Who can tell you the right, the wrong, the good, the bad, the true, the false? Impossible to do an accurate survey. People misrepresent. And unless you know the art of asking a question, how to formulate it, how to follow through, how to do an authentic investigation, an authentic inquiry, unless you're trained on that at that high technical skill, the information you're going to get is highly suspect at best. People misrepresent, people lie, people have many different motivations for engaging in a social performance in the here and the now. And first things first, it's all a performance. The real question is, who has the power? Who can foot the bill? How desperate are you? Is your hat in your hand? Do you need this special favor? Do you need me? If you need me, how much you're going to pay to need me? What do you want? So lay your trip. Tell me what I shall do for you that you won't and can't do for yourself. Don't depend on me. I'm looking to survive myself. I'm talking about the brute, the cyan, human reality motivation. I'm talking about your care, being your care. You are the only one empowered, responsible to define yourself and sustain that definition under massive embarrassment attempt, humiliation attempt by some social fool who doesn't know one iota of what he's talking about, just bloviating. And come to find out, after all the years, I'm 80 years old, man. 1 foot already in the grave. It was all trivial. It was all meaningless. Why did I take it seriously? And more important than that, why did I give it any credibility? Why did I take what some clown said, how he diagnosed me, and run a campaign and take it internally? What was the process by which, instead of leaving it out there and finishing my business in the now out there, I decided to inculcate the insults, the embarrassments, the judgments of my opponent. And he was an idiot. The final analysis, each and every one was an idiot. And I gave them so much power because I felt bad about myself. At 5'2.5" with my big belly, my big old moon face, and having to live vicarious pretense and looking for my hero, the one that can do it for me. And living my life being jealous, coveting what my neighbor had. My neighbor was a phony. What he had, I don't want. But I didn't know that at the time. And I didn't realize at the time there's a price to pay for everything. Let him foot his own bill. The attitude should be this, my friend. I prefer to let my social opponents go to hell in the way of their choosing. That's not my concern. I'm only concerned with representing myself, defending myself, asserting myself, and being in the now. This has nothing to do with ethics, morality, right or wrong, good or bad. I'm not a good person. I'm not a bad person. Just like you. Show me a good person. Show me a bad person. It all exists on a continuum. Who am I going to empower? Project away all my power, you see, and let this bum give me a sermon. If he gives me a sermon, I give him a sermon right back. And in a final analysis, when you look at it in a sober way, it didn't mean anything. We were both bullshitters. Didn't mean anything. It was trivial. It was trivial all the time. And therefore, I had nothing to worry about. Nothing to be concerned about. You have a nice day, I'll have a nice day. More bullshit. It's called, in the old days we used to call it warm fuzzy. You exchange a warm fuzzy and go back on a phony buoyancy. And when you look at it in a sober way, and you look at into the mirror and make sense of it, and you do so in your most vulnerable condition, you understand, you'll find it didn't mean anything. I go and take a sip of my good coffee. Nothing like a good cup of coffee for a good New Yorker like me. I enjoy my cup of coffee. That really does it. But here's the thing. I recognize and I confess, physically I have no power. I'm 5'2.5", with no appearance and no presence. I begin right there. So who am I going to enthrone? Who am I going to set up as a phony hero? Who am I going to try to emulate? Whose advice will I follow? Who gives a damn about me? And I don't give a damn about him in the final analysis. I don't know this social performer. And when we part ways, you have a nice day, I'll have a nice day. And we all know how phony that is. But it smooths it over. And am I to believe social life, culture is nothing but escape, marketing, smoothing it over, phony replacements, phony substitutes, and vicarious pretense? Am I to believe that's all there is? Am I to believe that it's only the legal aspects of it, the social aspects, the protocols, the behavior where you're at? Am I to believe that? Am I to believe that's the truth? And the answer is yes. And then I have to be aware of who's around. It's called the eyes in the night. That's a hell of a burden to put on yourself. When the final analysis doesn't matter anyway, it never did. That's the universal joke. That's the universal joke. It never mattered. It's trivial. And so tomorrow is another day of more triviality, more frivolousness. To the man, says Jean-Paul Sartre, being a nothingness, atheistic existentialism. To the man who says he's necessary to an eternal plan, him I call a fool. To a man who tells me he's determined to act, him I call a shit. A man of no courage. You're not determined to act in any way. You and I alone made the decision on some level. And my job, my task is to go home, turn on my camera, and talk to my camera like I'm talking to you right now. And recreate everything that happened, just like briefing it, like you would do in a courtroom. And then presenting my case. Now hear this. My indictment against myself. Who else can indict me? Who else is concerned with who I am? Each has their own. None has the time. Who foots the bills? That's the bottom line. Everything else is nonsense. We're going around the merry-go-round with the rest of it. That's my thought.